Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. It is rainy season. Shoot, even California is dealing with hurricanes. That weather does massive damage, or could do massive damage, to our homes or offices. Fire, water, wreaks havoc on our homes or offices. And those words together, fire, water, home, office. Oh my God, it's scary. It does not have to be. Water Cleanup of Florida will make it easy on you and for you if you have any home or office water or fire damage. 954-579-0356. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Michael, Robert, George, their entire team with well over 60 years of combined experience will take the pain away when it comes to issues with your home or office with water or fire damage. Again, 954-579-0356. And what's even more cool about Water Cleanup of Florida is they have licensed, certified, insured contractors on staff. So not only they will figure out what's wrong with your home, they will fix it. They will make it look brand new. My wife and I had them do work on our townhouse, and we were so impressed with their communication, their service, and the job well done. They'll treat you the same way. 954-579-0356. Check them out on their website, WCUFL.com. Check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL and Google. Big fans. They're big fans of Google, and Google is big fans of them with well over 85-star reviews. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, believe me, they have the guts. The Miami Dolphins have been more gutsy in recent years, going and making the big splash, putting a team together that on paper is one of the more talented, if not most talented rosters in the NFL. We talked with Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel Miami Dolphins columnist, about the Dolphins preseason and regular season outlook here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
We do have Chris Perkins up here. Chris, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I'm going to be up in Jacksonville over the weekend. So actually, Jacksonville Beach. I've discovered that's a much better place to make that road trip than actual Jacksonville.
There's not much going on in Jacksonville, is there? You have the TPC.
You have the landings. Isn't the landings like a big thing there?
Yeah. Yep.
Used to be like 5 dog tracks there. I remember when I was one of the various stages of desperation in my career when I was doing a dog racing show. We were up in Jacksonville for a little while, and we're overwhelmingly impressed with the interest that they had in a sport that was soon to be banned. Not much going on there. And you know, the Dolphins last week against Houston. Now, were you out there watching some of these tandem workouts, or were you in attendance at the game? What was the MO for the coverage?
I was not.
Or did you send Furones out there?
Here. Yep. We sent Furones.
Okay, and what did you observe? I mean, what were you able to deduce from any of this, if anything of significance?
No, it was significant. I think number one was Skylar Thompson and the way that he was able to guide the offense and make significant improvement over the last time that we really saw him for an extended period, which was that Buffalo Wild Card game. He was making good decisions. He was confident. The process was a lot smoother of getting the play down to him and him getting the play to the players. So that was one thing. The other thing that Defo was that run game, 205 yards rushing. Now, granted, Houston was the worst run defense in the league last year. It looks like they probably will be again this year. But the Dolphins did that without a fullback. Alex Ingold did not play, and so it was up to those tight ends to kind of fill that role. And that really was my bigger takeaway from the run game, bigger than the running backs, bigger than the offensive line, is, hey, these tight ends might be able to make a significant contribution. And you know, you were able to execute the run game without showing too much to the Chargers because, again, you know, you didn't have a fullback, so you didn't reveal that part of your run game to them. And then on the other side of the ball, look, the defense did a good job. The starters were only in there for 15 snaps, but that first possession, after 2 or 3 interceptions, they have their backs against the wall at the 7-yard line, and they keep Houston out of the end zone. And of those 15 plays that the defense played, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips only played 5 snaps. So, and they were both instrumental in putting pressure on C.J. Stroud, the Houston quarterback, the number 2 pick of the draft, and helping keep Houston out of the end zone. So So there were some takeaways. I still don't know what's going on at left guard. I wasn't that impressed by what Isaiah Wynn did. Liam Eichenberg didn't play. At right tackle, I thought Austin Jackson did a decent job, especially going up against Will Anderson, the number 3 pick of the draft. So I think that Austin Jackson is going to keep that job. And then just as far as other stuff, I think Braxton Berrios gets the slot, who's the number 3 receiving target. I think that will still be either Braxton Berrios or Raheem Mostert. I don't think it'll be Robbie Chosen. I don't think it'll be Eric Ezekama. The nickel position, that cornerback opposite Xavier Howard, I think it probably will go to Eli Apple and not Noah Igbenogany with Kader Kohu in the slot. So that's
good job on pronunciation, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, but that's what I saw. Yeah.
I mean, that was great. I mean, they have hockey names now in the secondary, and you rolled through that like you were Jeff Rimmer, first year of the Panthers. Fantastic job there, Chris Perkins.
What I was going to say, okay, so you and I were on the same page last year, Perk, where we felt McDaniel a lot of the time got away from the run. And he talked about it this offseason. He had to grow as a coach. I get it. It's the preseason, so I'm trying to take everything with a grain of salt. And yes, the Texans were bad, but they played bad teams last year. And that was my frustration, was they let games get away in that sort of streak where they were losing games, because instead of trying to control the game, he kept trying to make the big play when they didn't need to. And the one thing they struggled with last year was they were boom or bust. They were like one of the best teams at big plays, but they were not good at sustaining drives and getting scores. And that's what you saw with Tua right after the interception. The next drive was like 14 plays, a lot on the ground, a lot of smart passes that got the ball out of Tua's hands quickly. When there was a rush, Tua was falling differently, which a lot of people were noticing. Whether that's whatever that means, it was something that was noticed. And it felt like McDaniel did not shy away from running the ball. And I get it. It's, again, just a preseason versus a horrendous team. But it felt like he's cognizant of the idea of keeping the ball on the ground, keeping the chains moving. And that's something that was very different last year.
No, I agree 100% with that, Lubie. They had 38 runs and 29 passes against Houston, which, yeah, you would not have seen that last year at all. Nothing close to that kind of a mix. So, yeah, no, you're 100% right. And look, I think that there was a conscious effort to both throw to the tight ends, which they've done both games, and in different situations, and see what these tight ends can do on 1st and 10, on goal line, in short yardage. And then I think it was the same with the run game. You know, see if Devon Achane can consistently run between the tackles. He showed that so far this year in training camp, and against Atlanta, they did it again. By the way, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get a better update on him today. He's week to week. He got a shoulder injury in the game. But they ran outside, they ran inside, they ran Ahmed, who had 12 carries for 99 yards. They ran A-Chain. The rookie Chris Brooks brings a physical presence, a kid from BYU, although I don't think there's going to be a spot for him on the 53. He could hang around on the practice squad. Miles Gaskin looks like he'll be the odd man out. But, yeah, you saw Raheem Mostert with some good runs. And, look, Lubie, the other thing that you're 100% right about, there weren't any really big plays in the passing game. Savon Ahmed, I think, had the 65-yard run, and Mostert might have had a 21-yard run, and there were some 15-yard passes. But, you know, with Tyreek and Jalen, you're used to seeing a 40, 50, 60-yard pass, maybe a touchdown of that length, and we didn't have that. The 4 touchdown drives were 93, 80, 82, and 80-something. Yep. So you're right about playing. They were moving the chain, you know, play to play, and that's another really good thing to see from this offense, a dimension we didn't see last year.
All right, and we're talking about Mostert, and we know that Mostert is capable of doing, at times, spectacular things like he did in the NFC Championship game a couple of years back with the 49ers. Subsequent to that, had to work through another injury and a setback in his career. Came back I thought he ran the ball with a lot of power last year, and Wilson, when he came on board, was a definite upgrade. Why is it that the Dolphins, I know the theory is always, well, geez, if you can improve your roster, you may as well go out and try to do that. But is there really that much interest on the Dolphins' part in first chasing Dalvin Cook, and now supposedly, as soon as, this Jonathan Taylor story surfaced that he was granted permission to seek a trade, the teams that popped into the headlines, and among the leaders to be interested, where among them the Miami Dolphins. Are they really interested? I mean, these guys averaged 4.8 yards a carry last year for the Phins. How much of an upgrade do they need?
Well, I would say this, that Dalvin Cook and Jonathan Taylor are both significantly better than Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. And they give you big play capability. They give you short yardage capability. You can hand the ball to them on any down, and you're probably going to get something positive out of it. That's not the case with Mostert and Wilson. Mostert is a speed guy. Wilson is a slasher. I would like to have some more power back there in the backfield, more of a workhorse running back. Having said that, I would not chase Jonathan Taylor. He's too expensive. He's going to cost you a first rounder to get to acquire, and then you've got to give him a new contract. And to me, that's just too much. Now, the difference between Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook is you were just going to date Dalvin Cook. You've got to marry Jonathan Taylor, right? I mean, the Dalvin Cook is one, maybe a 2-year deal, maybe. Jonathan Taylor, you're going 4 or 5 years with this guy. You still got to pay Wilkins. And I'll tell you this, and I've got to talk to players about this, but I would think there might be a little simmering resentment in that locker room, or could be, from the standpoint of, they look around and they see, look, you're paying all these guys that you're just bringing in, and the draftees like Christian Wilkins is not getting paid, and you brought in Byron Jones and paid him more than you paid Xavier Howard, a guy that you drafted, and you got to pay Tua, you got to pay Javon Holland, you got to pay Jalen Phillips, you got to pay Jalen Waddle. So you're giving all this money to Tyreek and Teron and Jonathan Taylor, the free agents. What about the guys you drafted and developed? And so that's what I think Jonathan Taylor on a secondary level, that could create a little resentment, because you've got some first round picks, Wilkins, Tua, Phillips, Waddle, that you've got to pay some big money, and to give that money to an outsider and let somebody like Wilkins sit there and suffer, I'm not sure how that would go over in the locker room.
Yeah, probably not real well. I mean, probably like when Gene Atkins saw Jason Cole coming into the locker room that day. And I don't know what Jason had said that Atkins found particularly unflattering, but when he body slammed him into the ground, you thought there's a little discontent in here, or friction. All right, well, what are we looking for in Jacksonville? Anything in particular? You mentioned there might be some spots up for grabs. I sort of I've changed my viewpoint in watching preseason games in general now, because I used to be the biggest advocate of the whole revolution against the NFL. How could they dare charge fans full price for this dreck? And we're subjected to 40s games and nobody cares about them. And they had the big dress rehearsal game, now down to 3, which people have been crying for less preseason games for years. So we got that. Maybe it's to the point where 2 preseason games would be sufficient. But yet I'm watching and I'm seeing guys, and you're thinking there really is a lot to that sort of, understory. I mean, sub-story to, the fact that the starters don't play, and that a lot of these guys are literally, on the razor's edge of either having a career or getting a copy of the classifieds and having a whole different life, and now with the money that's involved in the NFL, you could probably get by, at least for a substantial portion of your life on a couple of years of playing. And a lot of that is up for grabs and at stake. And then I asked Brett Tessa was telling us, Chris, I know it's a long question here, but he was telling us that there's only one cut down day now for what the last couple of years, which makes that a real mad scramble, doesn't it? Yeah. And look, I agree with you on 2 parts of that, but not the whole thing. You can't charge for it. You can't charge full price for this stuff. No, that should never be done. No.
Right. But I do agree with you on the razor's edge and these guys, and there's just one cut day. Preseason has become more essential for the second and third string guys than it was previously. With 4 games, you were trying to get the regulars some playing time and find some rhythm for your starting lineup. Guys, now what we've seen is in the last few years that if you're going to win 10, 12 games, you pretty much keep your starters out the entire preseason, and you use those first couple of games as a kind of a get your starters going type of a situation. But that's why I don't, charging people. It was bad before, but at least then when you had the 4 games, they had that quote unquote dress rehearsal, that third game where the starters would play into the third quarter. You don't even see that now. Like Tua has played 15 snaps. I doubt we're going to see him against Jacksonville. Maybe we do because Mike White is in concussion protocol, which will be something else we'll have to watch on Saturday. Do they actually put Tua out there? I think it's going to be Skylar Thompson and James Blackman, and who they just recently re-signed, the kid from Lade Central and Florida State and Arkansas State. I don't think they put Tua out there, but yeah, watch what the Dolphins. It's watch how many snaps the starters get in preseason. Right now, Tua has played 14. A lot of the other starters have played 15. The defensive starters played 15. Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson played 14 snaps against Atlanta. So they might end up like in the 30s or the 40s. But a regular game, you're going to have 65, 70 snaps. So these guys are going to play one quarter, maybe one half. And if you're a good team, you kind of use those first couple of games to get the starting offense and defense worked out. And it's all relative because pretty much everybody is doing it. It's not like half the league is playing their starters for 2 preseason games and they're rolling in, coming in to the opener on a roll. Everybody is doing it. So it's like how nobody tackles in practice anymore, and the tackling is kind of shabby for the first couple of weeks. That's kind of how you get the first and second, your first and second, your starting offense and defense into regular season shape. You kind of use those first 2 regular season games. So, yeah, charging people for these full price for these preseason games. I mean, it's important to these second and third stringers, but wow, NFL, you know how to make money, and you've got some gall.
Oh no, that was criminal. I guess the theory was, the salary for the season hadn't kicked in, and the owners are making all the money from the gate during the preseason. Right. Plus, it's part of the television package, so they're reaping the benefits there. And it was a total ripoff. And and the other thing was that was particularly disturbing is some guy being section 150 there, right around the 50-yard line, and he was proudly displaying the fact that these were his season tickets. And you realize that he was paying $150 a copy for the preseason game, and you paid $5 outside. Off some desperate scalper who also offered you Beyonce tickets if you took these Dolphin tickets off his hands. So I mean, it was a blatant ripoff forever. I mean, if you ever had sporting criminal activity, that was it, charging people full price for that. And it gets back to the thing like the cell phone companies where you're charging your best customers your worst rates.
Exactly.
Because they're not eligible to get out of this crappy deal that you made with them where they have to buy the preseason. And there's no way to justify, taking that as, like a regular game, no matter how into the minutia of it, like we just discussed, where there are some great storylines being illuminated in some of these preseason games, but not enough to make you feel like you really got your money's worth. All right. The rookie quarterback so far, have you taken a look at any of these guys? I mean, it seems like it's going to be a tough go. I guess Richardson didn't play in his second game, and that was somewhat mystifying to people. C.J. Stroud has been unimpressive so far. Looks to be lost. Bryce Young, I haven't seen him play. I guess I saw a couple of plays in his second preseason game, but nothing special so far there. What do you think? I mean, it's too premature, obviously, to make this kind of evaluation of whether they're going to make it or not. But have you seen anything that would give you a direction to go in as to how impactful any of these guys are going to be this year?
Stroud is the only one that I've really paid attention to, and that's because the Dolphins just played him. I thought he got them on a good roll there on the second possession, I believe it was. He might have hit like 5 consecutive passes. Showed some good touch on some passes, but I mean, look, Houston's going to be terrible this year, right? I mean, I think they won 3 games last year. They might win 5 or 6 this year. The guy is going to take a beating, and so really it's going to be as much physical, as much mental for C.J. Stroud as it is physical. Can can you kind of withstand the constant losing and the constant failures and the constant play breakdown and the constant frustration? Can you fight through that for, say, 2 years? And then maybe you'll see some light at the end of the tunnel. So and look, that's the case with a lot of these quarterbacks who are taken at the top of the draft, right? Because that's how and why your team got you, because they were so bad. And
yeah.
so, but with C.J. Stroud, Houston has been so bad for so long, and some of the guys who left, you remember, they kind of dog cussed the front office. J.J. Watt wasn't happy. DeAndre Hopkins wasn't happy. Deshaun Watson left under different circumstances. But,
yes. He was very happy in some regards. Yeah.
He was the only one happy in that situation. Yeah. But it's with Houston. That's really more what my concern than C.J. Stroud. It's the organization that, they've been down, and I just don't see them coming up for a few years. I like D'Amico Ryans, the newly named head coach from San Francisco's defensive coordinator, but you've got your work cut out for you there as an organization and as a quarterback.
Yeah, the optimism of the incoming coach with the Houston Texans at the introductory press conference is often misguided and sadly unfounded as he struggles his way through a couple of years of just blatantly, poor losing football. Chris, always a pleasure, my friend. Will you be, and you're heading off to Jacksonville, you said, for this final session? The Miami Dolphins.
I am. Dolphins. Yep. Dolphins practice today, tomorrow, and Thursday. They're off Friday. They play Saturday. So again, we'll be looking at the quarterback situation and really, I think that I'll say this about the quarterbacks. I think Skyler was I think he came into training camp as the number 2 guy. Mike White slowly made that a closer battle. Might have slightly overtaken him with his performance against Atlanta. But with the performance against Houston, I think it's game on again, and maybe Skyler is the guy, which is a concern because you paid Mike White $4 million to come in, and you can't have him be the third string guy behind a 7th round pick. So I'm actually looking suspiciously at a couple of those Jets that the Dolphins acquired in Mike White and Dan Feeney. Really happy with Braxton Berrios. That dude is a baller. He's a starter in the slot, and he's gonna be a good player. But Dan Feeney did the center guard, and he was guaranteed, I think, $3 million. So I'm eyeing these former Jets suspiciously, and so Skyler's performance as it relates to Mike White, who is guaranteed $4 million, Defo, that's one thing I'm going to be watching on Saturday.
At that point, you may as well have signed Bernie Kosar and just had him on the sidelines there. Right? I mean, if the guy's going to be third string, yeah, exactly.
Back or something.
Unbelievable. Chris, always a pleasure, my friend. Sorry we didn't get the video up, but we'll do it again, very soon. And appreciate your, very astute assessment of what's going on with this Miami Dolphins franchise. Thanks so much for being with us.
All right, guys, we'll do it again.
Thanks, Perkman.
All right, very good.
Love talking to Chris Perkins. He's been covering the South Florida sports scene for years, been covering the Dolphins on and off for years. I actually agree with him with the Jonathan Taylor rumors. Yes, Jonathan Taylor, much like Dalvin Cook, is vastly better than what any running back the Dolphins have. But it's not like they're still running Gaskin and Ahmed, who are practice squad running backs. Mostert, Wilson Jr., and even A-Shane are NFL running backs. And this kid Brooks is actually pretty interesting. Those guys can get the job done with Wilkins, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, Tua. These guys coming due. Javon Holland coming due soon. Guys you actually draft. And the Dolphins suck in the draft. The guys you actually drafted that are Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber players coming due in the next year or two to go and get a running back that you're going to have to put 3 or 4 years into, it just doesn't make any sense. When your offensive line, you have major, on top of not only those contracts, but your right tackle, left guard, and left tackle positions are either in flux or injury prone to Ron Armstead. To put that money into a running back makes zero sense to me. So it's nice to think about Jonathan Taylor. I just don't understand them trying to make that move. You'd have to trade assets and then pay him a lot of money. It just doesn't make sense. I don't see the Dolphins doing that. I do see the Dolphins being interesting this season, and I'm really excited for what we've seen. Look, the preseason only matters so much, as Chris Perkins talks about, but you can, like he agreed with me, take tendencies. The Dolphins did get away from the run a lot last year, even when it was being successful. This preseason so far, they've been very aggressive in the running game. They've been very consistent with the running game. They've been very persistent with the running game, and that's something I hope continues in the regular season. It'll keep Tua from getting hit. It'll keep their offensive line from getting exposed because the offensive line is actually better in run blocking, and it'll allow the defense to rest up a little bit as the defense is very talented, but you don't want to keep your defense sitting there on the field, and that happened a lot last season when they would get the quick strikes. Yeah, they'd get scores, but the defense would be right back on the field. You need to have some nice, long, drawn-out drives. We've seen that throughout this preseason, and hopefully we see that into the regular season. Again, thank you to Chris Perkins. Thank you for checking us out. Check us out each and every morning, 7 to 9, the Defo Show with Lubie on South Florida Live. We're also doing a new thing with some more gambling angled things on nofilter.net, something called the Morning Briefing. So check that out, and also Licensed to Steal. Both of those are things we're doing with nofilter.net. Still with Believe, had an interesting conversation with Frank Schwab, talking NFL, talked to all things NFL on the field and from the gambling perspective with Frank Schwab, Yahoo, senior NFL writer and gambling expert. Frank Schwab, check that conversation on the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And here, our South Florida skewed content, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.